Hey everyone, welcome to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. And it's that time of the year. That's right, it's the Game Awards. They're coming up soon. So we're going to talk about at least the game of the year. So the Game Awards has put out their game of the year. You can go out there and start voting now for your pick as far as game of the year. There's a Plague's Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Those are your picks for Game of the Year. So they have also a lot of other categories that you can vote in. So make sure to go out to the Game Awards. There will be a link down in the description if you want to click on it, and then I'll take you to the Game Awards where you can go in and start voting for your favorites and all the different categories that they have out there. But we're going to talk about the Game of the Year categories and what we think, and what our pick is, basically what we think should win and what we think is going to win, right? So we're going to talk about that. So let's go around and see what everybody thinks of the Game of the Year nominees, and what's your pick and what do you think? So Pat, what do you think?
The list this year looks somewhat promising for them. I mean, everything was kind of, everything in the list is kind of, I would say, a no-brainer. The only one that I don't think really technically, I don't know, I'm torn between two, right? Plague Tale Requiem and Xenoblade are kind of odd picks. They're not, I wouldn't say Plague Tale Requiem is that popular of a game, but maybe I'm wrong. The first one was okay, in my opinion. It wasn't amazingly like the best thing I'd played or anything in the genre. But it was good. And I've played a little bit of the second one. It's not something I'm beating down my door to play, right? I'm not that interested in playing that one. And Xenoblade I played. So that one, in my opinion, belongs on the list more than a Plague's Tale. But for me, it's Elden Ring all the way. But we all know that Jeff Keighley is off his rocker a lot of times with what he picks for games. So it'll probably be something that just makes absolutely no sense, We'll end up getting Plague Tale or Xenoblade with even though we got everything else going on. So, but that's just what I think, He seems to just be a kind of a Sony pony a little bit, in my opinion, What he picks sometimes is doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I'm still a little bit bitter at Last of Us 2 beating out, Ghost of Tsushima. That game was way better than Last of Us 2 by a long shot. But that's my opinion. I think the People's Choice Award agreed too with that in that year. So Jeff Keighley and whoever the hell he's using to help pick his thing, they're sitting on their thumbs, right? They're tickling their own prostate with their thumbs. So, but that's my opinion. Shane, what about you, man? What do you think about this lineup this year? And who do you think is your game to win it all?
That list it's not a bad list. Yeah, I've played everything on there except for Plague's Tale Requiem. I only know what I've read about it, that it is popular to a certain group of people. Good reviews and all that, but I don't think it's an every gamer game, from what I know about it. Elden Ring, God of War, Horizon, Xenoblade Chronicles is a great game. We all enjoyed it, but I don't really see that a Game of Year nominee by any means. And that's not to disparage the game in any way. It's a fantastic game, but I just don't see it as a Game of the Year nominee. But granted, this year has been kind of odd with games. We've not had too many mind blowers, and this thing really probably is more of an encompassing list of games. You see it kind of hits on a different spectrum for everybody. You've got Stray, which is an amazing little game. Absolutely love this game. But is it a Game of the Year nominee? For me, no. It's just not. But that's just because of where the games I like and I enjoy. But it's still an amazing game. It deserves many accolades. I just don't know if it deserves a Game of the Year accolade. God of War is a fantastic game, but I just don't see that beating Elden Ring. But Jeff Keighley will probably vote for that because, Pat, you pretty much nailed it. He's got PS5 stamped on his colon, so that's just not cool because the people, I think, are going to go to Elden Ring. Horizon Forbidden West, another really good game, but it's not an Elden Ring competitor. I don't think any of these games compete with Elden Ring on any scale. Elden Ring, we just this is not my type of game typically, and I enjoyed the crap out of it. Pat loved this game, and he is not a Dark Souls gamer. Now this one's a lot more forgivable than Dark Souls, even though it is hard as crap. But Pat lived on this game. I mean, our phone was blowing up. Hey, I did this. Hey, I did that. Nick, help me kill this thing. You just don't hear that from Pat. That's how good that game is. So the list itself is a decent list. It's kind of encompassing for different genres and things like that, but none of them hold a candle to Elden Ring. That thing has got pretty much everything a gamer wants. Graphics, storytelling, which is really weird because the storytelling in this game is so broad that whatever you do, basically it's different parts of different stories. So that's what makes that game so unique. But God of War would be my second runner-up on that list. I think God of War would definitely be a second runner-up. Keighley does make some odd choices. I think It Takes Two was a fantastic game, but I still don't know if that would be your game of the year. I'm glad it won though, because it is an amazing game. I absolutely have nothing but love and praise for that game. And they just make other odd choices. Last of Us Part 2, amazing game for the first half. Then it's just a piece of crap. Just garbage. Absolute garbage. Heartbreaking garbage. But that's just me. Nick, before we dive too much further, what do you think about this list? And better agree with me.
Yeah, the list is an odd. Some make sense and some don't. I think for me personally, I think Stray and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 don't make sense. I don't know much about. I played only a little bit of Plague's Tale, so I don't know if it belongs in this list or not. So I can't, make an accurate, assumption about that game. The other ones I have played, and while Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was a good game and I enjoyed it, I don't think it belongs in this list personally. And Stray I thought was a good game and I enjoyed it, but I don't think it belongs in the list either. The other four, sure. Again, Plague Tale I don't know, but the other three for sure: Elden Ring, God of War, and Horizon could definitely belong in that list. I don't know what would take their place, right? I would have to really think about it. I haven't really thought about like what would take their place if I were to guess as far as what else should be in that list besides those three, right? Let's take Plague's Tale and Stray and Xenoblades out of it. What else should be in there? What other three should be in there? I don't know. I'm really surprised that instead of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, they didn't put Bayonetta 3, as Bayonetta was, I think, more critically and players as well as critics more rated higher than Xenoblade as far as all that goes, and they can't say, well, it's a newer game because so is God of War, right? But I don't know how they make their determination or their picks. I'm sure they have probably a huge list of games and they just kind of narrow them down based on preference and other factors, right? And that's how they kind of make it into the list. I'm sure it's not just a spin a wheel and whatever it lands on is what they stick in there. So I'm sure there's some precise, way of trying to figure out what deserves to be in that spot. But needless to say, yeah, I agree with you guys. I mean, out of all of these, Elden Ring should be the Game of the Year winner. I mean, that game, I think besides just us, it blew everybody away. Even those like Pat who aren't big Dark Souls or, those types of games, it brought them in. And it also, took the open world genre that we all know and changed it up in a way that we looked at how open world games can be done differently, right? And how, it could spawn its own genre of open world games, right? We're so used to the Ubisoft style that we're just used to, icons on the screen and hit the next, it's like a checklist. We're going to hit the next check mark on the list of things to do, right? You open up the screen and it's like, okay, here's everything that you need to do. Great. I'm going to start here and make my way around, right? Checking everything off the box. Where Elden Ring said, you ask the question, where do I need to go? And Elden Ring's like, I don't know. And you're just like, well, I guess I'll go this way. And then you just stumble across crap, and you stumble across narratives and bosses and characters and just all sorts of crap. And it was just amazing to explore, right? That was one of the biggest funnest things about that game, was you didn't know what was around each corner. Whereas most typical open worlds, what's going to be in the next town or in the next area. You kind of have a really good idea what you're going to run into, because they follow the same cookie cutter type of, setup. Whereas Elden Ring didn't have that, right? We didn't know where to go. When you start out in that game and you come out of the tomb, you have no clue where the hell you're going north. That's about all you know. You're like, I need to head that direction. But what do I need to do with that direction? I'm not sure. And then as you go, you just kind of start figuring it out as you meet different characters and start kind of going through the levels and various things. And then there's caves over here and ruins over there and a swamp with a giant dragon over there and a guy on horseback that'll kick your ass if you try to fight him, right? I mean, it's just right out of the gate, right? And it was just an amazing game. So it deserves Game of the Year. But like you guys, I think Jeff Keighley will give God of War Game of the Year, just because that's what I figure Jeff Keighley will do. But I think the people's choice will go towards Elden Ring. Yeah, I think the people's choice will go towards Elden Ring. So, but I really hope that it doesn't. I hope that Elden Ring does. That's just the most logical choice, I think. I think Elden Ring, Elden Ring, it felt like wasn't really bound to just a small group or whatever. When Elden Ring came out, it exploded the internet. I mean, everybody was talking about it. When Dark Souls 3 came out, a lot of people were talking about it, but it was a lot of people that liked that genre in that game. You heard topics and news and everything about Dark Souls 3, right? But when Elden Ring, you couldn't go on Facebook, Reddit, or open up your mailbox without seeing something about Elden Ring, right? Your neighbor was talking about it, right? I remember I have an Elden Ring shirt. I remember people at stores going, I love your shirt. Oh man, I love that game, and everything. Just started talking about just random people, because it was such a popular game, right? And just everybody loved it, no matter who you were. It was just, it exploded. And it just deserves that. So hopefully they don't let us down at the Game Awards.
Yeah, we'll see. So what's your reasoning behind thinking that like Stray doesn't belong on the list? Like I'm trying to figure out what the reasoning, because I'm not sure what their picks are or what they do. I think it's mostly by popularity, and Stray has sold millions of copies. So, I don't know what the reasoning is. And from what I just read, Plague Tale Requiem also has sold a couple of million copies. So it's got to be by popularity. Same thing with Xenoblade. What I've read, though, is Xenoblade has sold more copies than Bayonetta 3 has.
In the same period of time?
No, but by the time the Game Awards come out, I think it's like a tally, that they're looking at. So you can kind of hurt yourself, but like God of War, plenty of pre-orders. But by what you were just saying, one of the things by what you were just saying, too, is that let's compare Elden Ring and God of War. My feed is not packed with God of War stuff. It's not on my social media stuff. But like Elden Ring, man, the first week it was out, it was like all over the place. And now I don't see anything like that for God of War Ragnarok. But
I think that's because it's God of War. That's expected. It's expected to be good.
But there's no secrets, right? There's not secrets.
No, it's not like it's not like there's anything that's popping out of it that's like everybody's, oh my God. There's none of that, because it's God of War. It has a formula. It's a fantastic game. It's just Elden Ring is a whole different beast. It's a whole different formula. There's so much new in that
Right.
that was done so well that that's why your feed is like that. But there's still those that love God of War, but it just can't compare.
Yeah. So Nick, before I cut you off, what was the reasoning that you think that Stray doesn't belong on the list?
While Stray was a good game,
He's a dog
for
guy.
me, yeah, I'm a dog guy. For me, it's not. I don't know. When I think of Game of the Year, I don't think of how many units it sold or anything like that. I think of like, what did it bring to the genre, right? What did it bring to the gaming medium? While Stray is a very good game and a very good puzzle game, it didn't really like turn a formula or do anything exceptional, right? It didn't like take something that's been done and make it like 10 times better. Like Stray is a great game, but it's a one and doneer, right? Once you play through it, you're probably not going to play through it again, at least in my experience. For me, other people might be different, but I mean, there are secrets that you can take care of throughout the game as you go through. There's no replayability to it. Plus the genre itself, or the adventure puzzle game that it created, besides being a cat, there was nothing beyond that made it unique in the way that you're like, wow, that's just such an exceptional, like, life change, not necessarily life changing, but I mean, when I think of Game of the Year, I think of something that's like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like something just exceptional. It's like so exceptional that it belongs in the Game of the Year. Like Elden Ring, I feel is that way, right? Where it changed the open world genre. While it introduced a lot of awesome concepts, and it just really brought the whole community together. Whereas, and it was thought provoking, and it just, it changed things as far as what we think of open world. Stray, I don't think did that. Right. I think it's a good game. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it a lot. I figure it's in here because of the amount it sold and the popularity. And the popularity, I think, was there because you are a cat, right?
That's how it revolutionized, right? It revolutionized it because you play as a cat, and
I guess
it's quite detailed. But by that statistics, only one game on this chart did that.
True.
I mean, because God of War and even Horizon are just as much as I hate to say that, because I love Horizon, they're rehashes, right? And Xenoblade and Plague Tale is the same example. They didn't do anything different, like
right. My Game of the Year standards are definitely a lot higher, and probably a lot higher than they should be, especially for something like this. Like for the Game Awards, I bet you would be for my standards of what should be considered a Game of the Year. It would be very hard to make a list of that, right? And it would take a long time. So I understand why they kind of are a little loose on the basis of things, right? More of popularity and units sold and things of that nature, than more than just like what games came out throughout the year that really just changed the genre, brought in, because it's supposed to be the best, they say the absolute best experience across creative and technical fields. That means you take all the awards that they're giving, right, for everything else. This game in Game of the Year does all of this, right? Even if it's not nominated for it. Well, not best sports game. You know what I'm talking about? Like the innovation and creative and stuff like that. Those types of fields, categories. It does all of that, right? It does all of that. It brings the best of all of those things. Even if it's in the nomination or it doesn't get nominated for that, like narrative or sound or something like that, it still brings the best part of those things together to make a Game of the Year. And that would be a hard list. Like, yeah, I agree. I mean, Elden Ring would probably be the only thing in that list based on my standards.
Well, it broke down
board stuff.
It broke down like borders, right? I mean, I don't like Souls-like games, and I love the shit out of this game. Like Shane said, I played the crap out of it. I played it and played it and played it and played it and played it. And yeah, and I talked about it for probably months after it came out, and because I was still playing it. I've got, it's just, I'm like, oh, dude, I found this, and and I'm chatting with Nick about it. I'm like, hey, I can't beat this guy. Can you hop in and help me out? And we talk strategy, and we go in and beat him, or something like that, But when I first picked it up, I loathed that game. I hated it. It was Dark Souls to me, but I had the wrong approach to it, right? Nick had to sit me down and be like, you just can't run into everything you see and try to kill it because you're just going to die. He's like, you need to think about this differently. You have to think about it as you're the puny wimp, and you need to go do the 80s Sylvester Stallone montage and build yourself up and then go take on the bad guy, you know? But my brain was just going, hey, the light's pointing me that way. And I ran into this guy on a horseback and I can't beat him and he's kicking my ass and I don't know what to do. And so just rethink a process. And so I spent days beating on regular mobs and leveling up and gearing up. And then I'm like, go in there and I'm like, oh, this guy's not that bad, you know? So.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that make a game of the year is exactly what's happening right now. Elden Ring had taken over our conversation. Elden Ring is a game that, you know, when we were playing it for review, we talked about it a lot. And then after reviewed, we talked about it a lot. Even after that, Pat lived on it a lot. It was just, that's what a game of the year is. It Takes Two. Fantastic game. We talked about it because there was so many fun and interesting things that happened. Plus the cooperative experience really, you know, just made it its own. That's what makes a game of the year. Ghost of Tsushima should have been game of the year. Both sides, you know, public and private, whatever. That should.
I mean, here's the problem, though. I think we probably talked about Last of Us 2 way more than we did Ghost of Tsushima, but for negative reasons.
Negative reasons, exactly. You know, when we think of Ghost of Tsushima, it's fun. The story was amazing, and all the good stuff that goes with a game of the year. Last of Us Part 2 was crap. It was a heartbreaking turd, and that's why we talked about it so much. Because of the negative aspect, because it did so many things that were just dumb, and it made no sense. You know, it builds you up to hate something. Then it's like, you know, maybe I was wrong about her. No, I wasn't. That's what a game of the year is. A game of the year isn't just the genre of the game. It's what it does. Doki Doki Literature Club. It's not a game of the year game. But we talk the crap out of that game. And if you haven't played it, please play it. It is crazy. It is fantastically done. It's Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. So check it out. But that was one of those games that we would have never played. It was started off as a joke and we decided to review it. And the next thing, you know, we're gossiping about it. We're talking about, did you do this, Pat? Did you do this, Nick? You know, I spent an entire sick day in bed playing this while my daughter was sitting there watching me play. I mean, it was just that good of a game. That's what a game of the year is. It's a game that you can talk about passionately, with your like-minded friends. That's what game of the year is. It's not your genre. It's not your gameplay type. It's the after you put that controller down. How do you feel? Do you want to talk about it with your buddies? I mean, do you have to tell Nick what you did today? Or you have to tell Pat, oh, look at this clip here. You know, that's game of the year. That's just me though.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, another game like that I don't know would be, you know, we would consider, I guess, all of us like a, not necessarily good game of the year, but definitely thought provoking and talking among us about the game, like always talking about it in different sections you're at. You know, 13 Sentinels comes to mind. I mean, that game, when we all started playing that one, we talked about that game for weeks, right? I mean, it was just, that was a sleeper hit. I felt like it needed to be more in the limelight for gamers out there, because that was such an amazing game.
Yeah, that was one I don't think got the traction it should have, because it blew. I wasn't really looking forward to that game, and it just blew all of us away. I think Russ probably the one that surprised me the most who enjoyed it, because me, I had a chance, but I didn't think Russ would enjoy it. He liked it, so that's good.
You had to go through and beat it. That's how good it was. And it's a long ass game.
Yeah, it's like watching the Bleach series, man. You just gotta go through all 7 billion episodes.
I think we all beat that game, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, that game was so good, we all 4 beat it, right? And, and it was just like I think the storytelling in that game was so compelling, and the characters, absolutely. And then even the tactical combat that got really fun as you continued on upgrading your units and various things like that, real strategic and stuff. It was just a lot of fun. Overall, that game was a blast to play, and really needs to be more gamers need to play that one. So check it out. I think it's on Switch now as well. So if you're a big Switch person, you can go pick it up there.
Yeah.
So anyway, do you guys have anything else you want to say about Game of the Year?
I don't see how anything's going to be a Elden Ring. I just don't.
It shouldn't, right? It should be up there.
I hate to say that because it's up my favorite game series. It's up against my favorite game series, Horizon. But unfortunately, it's, in my opinion, it beats out Horizon. That really gives me heartburn to say.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll find out here soon when Jeff Keighley pops up with another ugly jacket and tells us what game he likes.
That's right. Well, looking forward to Sting playing another performance. So, and we'll, when the Game Awards come around, we'll definitely give you our take on what we thought of the Game Awards and, what did win what and all that stuff during that time. But that's it for here. Let us know down in the comments down below. Let us know what's your pick for Game of the Year. Out of these, Plague's Tale, Elden Ring, God of War, Horizon, Stray, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which one of those is your pick, right? It may not be Elden Ring, maybe one of the other ones, and that's perfectly fine. So let us know what your pick is. And, if you want to, you can let us know what you think Game of the Year means. What does it mean to you, right? You heard what it means to me. And Game of the Year doesn't mean the same for everyone. So what does it mean to you? Let us know down in the comments below what you think a Game of the Year deserves, or what games, deserve Game of the Year in your opinion. So let us know. But other than that, thanks again for watching. Make sure to like the video if you haven't. Make sure to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell notifications. Stay up to date with new videos that we do all the time. We'll see you next time.
See ya.